Good morning, everybody. This is Jack Gleason with Startuptrading.com. It is Thursday, August 6, 2020 here. For our economic news in the overnight session, we had Great Britain pound monetary policy statement, and then the Bank of England Governor Bailey speaking this morning at 8:30. We had the unemployment claims, which came in better than expected. Only lost 1.1 million jobs as opposed to 1.4 expected. This evening, out of the Australian dollar, the RBA monetary policy statement is a Red Star News event, followed up by the Assistant Governor Ellis speaking for the Australian dollar and the Chinese trade balance and US denominated trade balance this evening. We also have natural gas storage at 10:30, and FOMC member Kaplan will be speaking a half an hour after the bell. Tomorrow, big news event for the U.S. markets is going to be the non-farm employment change and the unemployment rate, as well as we will have the Canadian unemployment rate tomorrow. Obviously, that would affect the USD CAD. I've titled this video, Dow Leads, Nasdaq Lags, and it's pretty self-explanatory. The Dow has been leading, and the Nasdaq just kind of going sideways. Not by any means is the NQ bearish here, but I want to talk about what are those setups we have. Now, the Dow has, if you look at the daily chart, it's way behind the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq would be, somewhere way up here versus the Dow is still not even through or really close to its highs of 2020. Now, we have made a very aggressive run out of the lows at 27,610, which is the high post-COVID conflict, whatever you want to call it. Now, out of those lows, we had on Monday a halfway back for the week. It was Monday's low to high. That was our support level Tuesday. We totally and completely blew through those targets, which began an extension series. As of right now, we are bullish above a 26,875 with an hourly upside target of 27,315. Our extension is from 26,678, and that is the high at around 3 a.m. going back to August 4th. Bullish above this level. We have broken and confirmed by breaking out of the 50% retracement short. If it was a perfect world, we would get a retest of 26,960. Didn't really get anywhere yesterday. We're kind of in this consolidation phase. Now, tagged this 50, and then we tagged this target. That would be the deepest possible variation of a long setup that I have, and that is from Friday's low to high as a support level. Friday's low to high gives us right now a 10,917 and takes us back to where we closed on Friday. That is a very solid support level. This is also that post Amazon, Facebook, Google, Apple earnings, which was Thursday of the prior week. That would be right back into that level. Now, that's a pretty conservative pullback for us to get down into. There is more aggressive setups here. One of those setups I would anticipate would be the extension, which led us higher from Sunday night. It's a 10,771, and the 38% retracement is really what I would like to look at. And that's a 11,001, more than 2 draws at a time. Gets a little clouded, so I'm just going to mark up this 50% with a blue dotted line. All right. Moving on to the S&P. We got to go back a little bit. Now, the S&P has run into what is the 50% retracement from Tuesday's low to high here in the overnight session. And the reason we had that support is because the VIX traded its technical move. Now, the VIX oftentimes will lead the index. Whatever the setup of the S&P is when the VIX trades its just straight through them and began an extension. Well, the extension was from the low of Friday to low. That gave us a resistance level at 25.75. 25.75 traded at the VIX. At the same time, we just happened to be at the 50% retracement long for the week in the S&P 500. And we instantly bid off of that, and we have just not yet broken above that opposing 61, but we would use this level, it's 3,000, as the support level moving into today. And if we lost it, the support level I would go back to is the first extension that began out of Friday. And I like the 50% retracement there. Would be a 32.80. 32.80 if we got down there. Moving on to oil, which has run into its halfway back from Tuesday's low to high, and I think you could even make an argument that there was a front run of Monday's low to high. Let me actually measure that out. It would have been a front run of 6 exactly. But Tuesday's low to high, this traditional sequence here in CL, has caught a very aggressive bid. We will look for that next measured move just from the overnight low to high, 42.12 right now, as a potential pullback into the entry of the trend. The USD JPY, now, unfortunately, we got a little sloppy here. We had a very clean sequence out of highs. It was Monday's high to low, 2 target, next measured move, 2 target, and then that swing high from Wednesday to low. We traded the 50. We kept reacting off of it, but we did pierce this 61, and then we've come back below. So this is really just a sloppy short setup right now, but its downside target is a 105.18, and we've technically revalidated it because even though we broke the short, we also then immediately broke the long setup. If in a perfect world, I'd see and like to participate on the 50% retracement short from the high of the week to low. That's a 105.89. Otherwise, I do think we will continue back down to the bottom range toward the 104.67 area. Aussie dollar. Now, we came off this higher time frame profit target at 72.33. The 50% retracement for the week is Monday's low to high. Now, there is a 50% retracement short that's had its profit target hit here. I'm not going to draw the next measured move. Right now, I'm more just in the observation mode for the Aussie dollar unless we can get to 71.58. The euro, we've just barely moved into highs and seeing selling pressure. The 50% retracement below would be a 118.05. 118.05 is a halfway back long for the week. The pound, big news event last night, equivalent to their FOMC. Tuesday we came out of lows. Wednesday we held a traditional to target. We had our next traditional trade at the close on Wednesday. Completed target on its high, and we are inside of that next traditional. We are just continuing to move higher inside of a traditional sequence in the GBP USD, and if we ever did break down, we'd come into the full 50% retracement long, which right now is a 130.83. 130.83. The USD CAD has traded the extension short from yesterday's trade plan. That was a 132.97. Now, yesterday we came into the 132.82, which was a 38, but I was looking at this 50. We've traded it. We rotated off about 20 or so, 25 pips. USD CAD has its unemployment report tomorrow. This downside target is a 132.04. 132.04 is that downside target. We are bearish below 133.12. And honestly, even if we produced a short covering rally, the next resistance level above, I would look at, there's the traditional short from Tuesday's high to low. Yeah, we'd have to confirm the next resistance above, but the most obvious variation of potential resistance to me would be the next traditional Instead of using this extension, it would just be Tuesday's high to low. That lines up with a daily swing mark leg start at a 133.26. So that would, if we do break the extension, it would just be right behind it, would be another resistance level. Moving on to gold, which is going to the moon, as I've continued to say for about a year. We are on our way, and I'll mention this again, to a target that is all the way up at $2,318. This profit target has existed since 2015. So there was literally, you could call it like a 6-year accumulation of precious metals down here. And we started the breakout in 2019. Silver started its breakout this year, in fact, like under a month ago. It's more than likely this target gets totally blown through, because all of the previous times gold breaks out, it basically triples in price from the previous high. It almost at least doubles from the previous high. So you can see that, when we broke out, look how aggressive, when gold runs, it runs. You can go back to the 80s. Now, when we broke out of the highs of the 80s, we doubled in price. Okay? And assuming we're going to double in price from this breakout, you're looking at gold 4,000. So this negative 61 is on the table in the next 2 to 3 years, this 29,056. And I'd posted on, and just related to gold, although I don't often go over stocks, I posted this on Instagram last night, startup_trading on Instagram, check me out. It's just this inverse head and shoulders on this stock that is a gold mining company, and they've beat earnings here. In fact, they've crushed them. Basically, and there's a ton of shorts in this stock. But this is a gold mining company, PVG, and this is still inside of a consolidation, and there is plenty of shorts in the stock, and they think they basically crushed their earnings. Their anticipated was 18 cents, and they came in at 26. So just a little side note here for this morning's trade plan, PVG. Gold is going to continue to move higher, back to this smaller time frame as far as setups go. Now, yesterday we had our extension trade, which was Wednesday's high to high. Now, we traded that 38% retracement. If you missed the entry at the 38% retracement, the only thing to do is wait for the validation of the long setup by breaking out of the short sequence. That's exactly what we did at about 2-3 a.m. After we break out of the short, we have 50% retracement long. We come into that 50% retracement long at 4 a.m. We complete profit targets, and we have our next measured move. The next measured move was this morning at 2064. Before that unemployment report, our upside targets are 2087 and 2082, and there is only longs in gold. Same thing with silver. We're just going higher. That's all it does. Literally, this thing is up 5% every other day. It's absolutely fascinating. If you get long, stay long. Although it's a great trend to trade long, this has plenty of room to run. Gold is through its all-time highs, and silver is going to its all-time highs, which are still really far away. The thing, the characteristic about the silver market is when it moves, it just explodes. And you can even go back. There's only a few times it's happened, and this is going to be one of them. You can literally go back to the 70s when silver went. To think about something like a commodity, up until recently, silver was at $12 earlier this year. Silver was at $12 back in the 80s. What do costs the same amount in 1980 as it does today, which is amazing. And it's technically an inflation hedge and a precious metal. So the fact that we were at those levels is just futures price manipulation, has nothing to do with supply and demand. And now you're seeing the other side of that move, and that's why this is so explosive. The breakout in the 70s and 80s was just straight up. We are going to see something similar. Now, we topped out at $50. I think it's more than likely over the next 2 years. It might happen faster than that. I'm trying to give a realistic timeline because in my head, outside of silver just being a great trading instrument. I think it's also a solid investment with everything going on. But you see how quick, when we get these breakouts, how fast silver moves. And then there will be a top, and it'll be a blow off top. But look at this run in 2010. Okay, we're barely halfway to that previous all-time high. And like I said, I do think it goes through. And if you look at the price action, there's clearly a lot of people who believe the same. Now, what we've done here today is we've completed our daily extension. This was going all the way back to July 28th. Now, that upside target was $28. The next upside target we have above us, excuse me, based on that pullback, is at the 3080 level, which is the negative 61. But we now have a new daily extension from the high of that, what is that, July 27th to high, and that is a 2740. On the 50%, we might not even get there. There's even more aggressive sequences here that you'd have to follow on this smaller time frame. And at this point in time, we added 150% retracement from the low of the day to high. Okay, we have our next traditional, and it's been front run here. The two important levels are a 2767.5 and below that 2741. All right, but that is going to wrap up my morning trade plan video. If you enjoyed this content, please give this video a thumbs up. Feel free to share with anybody who you might think would find it interested. If you're interested in learning more about futures trading and joining the startup trading community, check out the links below. Everybody have a wonderful day. Trade safe, trade with discipline, trade your plan, don't overtrade, and I'll see you guys in the trade room. Take care. Everybody have a wonderful day. Trade safe, trade with discipline, trade your plan, don't overtrade, and I'll see you guys in the trade room. Take care.